The
The
Gospel
Gospel
of
of
St.
John,
John 18.
chapter 18, the betrayal and arrest in Gethsemane. Probably didn't say that right. Okay, look, when Jesus, now remember, Jesus just got done praying for himself, praying for the disciples, and yes, he's praying for all his believers, the Christians. Betrayal and arrest. When Jesus had spoken these words, he went out with his disciples over the brook of Kidron, where there was a garden which he and his disciples entered. And Judas, who betrayed him, also knew the place, for Jesus often met there with his disciples. Then Judas, having received the detachment of troops and officers from the chief priests and Pharisees, came there with lanterns, torches, and weapons. And Jesus, therefore, knowing all things that would come upon him, went forward and said to them, "Whom are you seeking?" And they answered him, "Jesus of Nazareth." Jesus said to them, "I am he." And Judas, who betrayed him, also stood with them. Now when he said to them, "I am he," they drew back and they fell to the ground. And then he asked them again, "Whom are you seeking?" And they said, "Jesus of Nazareth." Jesus answered, "I have told you that I am he. Therefore, if you seek me, let these go their way, and that the sayings might be fulfilled, which he spoke, of those whom you gave me, I have lost none. That's right, none of his disciples died. Then Simon Peter, having a sword, drew it and struck the high priest, a servant, and cut off the right ear. And the servant's name was Malchus. And so Jesus said to Peter, "Put your sword into the sheath, and shall I not drink the cup which my Father has given me?" That's right, that's his destiny. Can't stop his destiny. His Father told him he got to go through with the crucifixion to save all our souls. God bless you all forever. The Gospel of St. John. Jesus is now before the high priest. 18:12. And then the detachment of troops and the captains and officers, the Jews, arrested Jesus and bound him. And they led him away to Annas first, for he was the father-in-law of Caiaphas, and who was the high priest that year. Now it was Caiaphas who advised the Jews that it was expedient that one man should die for the people. Man, he doesn't read the commandments, does it? One man should die? Nobody should die. 18:15. Peter denies Jesus. And Simon Peter followed Jesus, and so did another disciples. Now that the disciples was known to the high priest, he went with Jesus into the courtyard to the high priest. But Peter stood at the door outside, and then the other disciples who was known to the high priest went at the door, and he spoke to her who kept the door, and brought Peter in. And then the servant girl who kept the door said to Peter, "You are not also one of this man's disciples, are you?" He said, "I am not." Wow, Peter. And now the servant and officers who had made a fire of coals stood there, for it was cold, and they warmed themselves. And Peter stood with them, and he warmed himself. 18:19. Jesus questioned by the high priest. The high priest then asked Jesus about his disciples and his doctrine. Jesus answered him, "I spoke openly to the world. I have taught in the synagogues and in the temple where the Jews always meet, and in secret. I have said nothing. Why do you ask me? Ask those who have heard me what I said to them. Indeed, they know what I said." And when he had said these things, one of the officers who stood by struck Jesus with the palm of his hand, saying, "Do you answer the high priest like that?" Wow, man, a super slap like that. And then Jesus answered him, "If I have spoken evil, bear witness of evil. But if well, why do you strike me?" And then Annas sent him bound to Caiaphas, the high priest. 25. Peter denies twice more. Wow, Peter. Now Simon Peter stood and he warmed himself. Therefore they said to him, "You are not also one of his disciples, are you?" And he denied and said, "I am not." One of the servants and the high priest and the relatives of him whose ears Peter cut off said, "Did I not see you in the garden with him?" Peter then denied again. Immediately a rooster crowed. Jesus told you that rooster would crow. 1828. They in Pilate's court now. They got him all bound up. They're going to try to get him for blasphemy, obviously, and get him killed by Pilate, which he was the governor of Rome. Not the governor of Rome, but the governor of the Romans in that region, and the governor basically of the Jewish people. He just let the Jewish kind of handle their own business, and they just picked up all that tax money. Anyways, in Pilate's court, And then they led Jesus from Caiaphas to the praetorium, and it was early morning. But they themselves did not go into the praetorium, lest they should be defiled, but that they might eat at the Passover. Pilate then went out to them and said, "What accusations do you bring against this man?" They answered and they said to him, If he were not an evildoer, we would not have delivered him up to you." Then Pilate said to them, "You take him and you judge him according to your law." And therefore the Jews said to him, "It is not lawful for us to put anyone to death," that the sayings of Jesus might be fulfilled, which he spoke, signifying what death he would die. Then Pilate entered the praetorium again, called Jesus, and said to him, "Are you the king of the Jews?" Jesus answered him, "Are you speaking for yourself about this, or did others tell you this concerning me?" And Pilate answered, "Am I a Jew? Your own nation and your chief priests have delivered you to me. What have you done?" And Jesus answered, "My kingdom is not of this world. If my kingdom were of this world, my servants would fight, so that I should not be delivered to the Jews. But now my kingdom is not from here." Pilate therefore said to him, "Are you the king then?" And Jesus answered, "You say rightly that I am a king. For this cause I was born of the world, that I should bear witness of the truth. Everyone who is of truth hears my voice." Pilate said to him, "What is truth?" And when he had said this, he went out again to the Jews and said to them, "I find no fault in him at all." 1828, taking the place of Barabbas. "But you have a custom that I should release somebody on the Passover. Do you therefore want me to release to you the King of the Jews?" And then they all cried out again, saying, "Not this man, but Barabbas! Not this man, but Barabbas!" Now Barabbas was a robber. He was also a murderer and a killer and all sorts of stuff. Man, they had that hate for Jesus. Wow. That's crazy. Passover is from all the way back to the Egyptian days when Moses did the final sign of the angel of death going over the house, and they could hear all the bodies of people screaming when their firstborn children died. Anyways, God bless you for eternity. Oh, this is a long one. No, that was it.